When you think of a luxury SUV, your head probably starts to spin because the market is so flooded in this sector, but it shouldn't. There's one vehicle that should come to the forefront, and it's this one, the Lincoln Navigator Black Label Special Edition, and we're gonna take it for a drive. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Chris Saeli, and I'm here today with the 2021 Lincoln Navigator Black Label Special Edition package. We're very excited to review this vehicle, and we're going to go through multiple different categories here: performance, handling, safety, visibility, quality, value, technology, seating and comfort, to give you an overall review of what this vehicle is like. When you go to the dealership, it's their job to sell you on the vehicle, but it's our job here at the Car Coach Reports team to tell you what it's really like. So make sure you hang in there for the full video and click that little bell down there to subscribe for all of our content. Now, we've already reviewed the 2020 Lincoln Navigator Black Label Edition, so let's talk about what's new for 2021. Specifically, it's mostly a cosmetics package. So you get more monochromatic grille, you get the black 22-inch wheels, black accents on the mirror, and black accents on the roof with the rails. And you can only get this package in 5 colors. There's 2 shades of blue. This is Flight Blue, which is a darker one. You get a white, a burgundy, and a gold. Most of the base of this Navigator is there, which was very highly scored the first time we did it, and we love this vehicle here at Car Coach Reports. So I'm very excited to see if there have been any other small changes that go along with these packages. So let's take it for a drive. Let's talk about what's under the hood. Long gone are the days of the big American V8 in a big American SUV. It's been replaced by a much smaller, much more fuel efficient, oftentimes turbocharged engine, and that's exactly what we have here. 3.5 liter V6 twin turbo. It's good for 450 horsepower, 500 pound-feet of torque, with EPA ratings of 16 miles per gallon in the city and 22 on the highway for an average of 17. You're also good for 8,700 pounds of towing capacity with this vehicle. This has the additional extra heavy towing package, which is up from 6,900 pounds from the last Navigator that we reviewed. So it's got plenty of oomph to get you down the road, and it'll get you better fuel economy than the older Navigators with the V8 with similar kind of power ratings. So let's see how it feels to drive. I'm really impressed though with the way that this Navigator moves down the road. And I will say the power delivery is smooth. It's very crisp. It's very luxurious. It's not like on some cars that I've driven, like the Cadillac Escalade or some of the Yukons and the Denali's. They've got this big American V8 strapped to it. And as soon as you go near the throttle, it's very touchy, and it just, bang, it kicks you in the back and it just throws you down the road. This kind of coaxes you down the road. It pushes you down the road. It says, come on now, let's move along. And it's very, the only thing that I can relate it to is like a Rolls Royce. The power delivery is so smooth that you don't even realize how fast you're going and how quickly you can get there. So here we've got a great opportunity for a 0 to 60 run. And again, off the line, very smooth. The engine sounds good. Believe it or not, had a little bit of wheel spin there. I don't know if you could hear that or not, but it certainly hooks up. But again, you'll notice the very gentle rock back. I wasn't thrown into the seat. I was gently, basically asked, why don't you relax a little bit and let us take care of this? And it got me up to the speed that I needed to get to. Very, very comfortable. We'll do a quick hard brake check here. All on. Wow. Fantastic. Really great stopping capabilities for something that weighs this much. Overall, really, really impressed, and that's why we gave this a 9. Very, very comfortable car to drive. Really easy to drive. And the power is there when you need it. You're never going to be afraid to pass somebody, and you're also never going to have an issue coming to a complete stop in the event of an emergency. All in all, this is a big vehicle. It is a bit of a boat, and it requires some driver input. Not so much when you're driving down the road. It's not like the old cars in the 60s where you used to have so much driver input in the steering wheel to keep it straight. When you fiddle with the steering wheel, even just the slightest, the car will move. It's not sloppy, but it floats. It floats a little far left or right. And that's something that is going to take some points away for this is that the steering feel is not the most direct. So it's not as German as you would want it to be on, say, you know, your BMW feel or your Mercedes. When you point the steering wheel, the car darts that way. This is more smooth to some, but in my opinion, it's a little sloppy. It doesn't have the input that you need. And then in situations where you're actually driving the vehicle and you need to make a turn, like a hard left or a hard right, you really have to move the wheel quite a bit to get to the left or get to the right. It's a full spin motion, as opposed to just maybe a partial turn or maybe a 180-degree spin of the wheel. You've got to get a full hard spin in there to get the vehicle to turn left or right. So for that reason, I'm going to give it an 8 overall in the handling department. Again, this has nothing to do with the ride quality or the way that it can take a corner. It's all very good. It's just the driver input on the steering wheel can sometimes require a little bit more than you might require on some of the competition for this. Talking about safety on this vehicle, there are some nice features. You've got your blind spot assist, your trailer blind spot assist, your cross traffic alert, you've got cruise control, driver alerts, and then you've got a lane keeping system as well as a pre-collision system. Now, it's important to note that the extra package on this that we're reviewing today, the special edition, is purely cosmetic. You don't get any additional safety features or anything like that for the additional money. It's cosmetic and you get the extra towing capacity. So everything that's on here is part of the standard Black Label Lincoln Navigator package already. And overall, I'm going to give this a 9. Again, it doesn't do anything that really blows me away like some of the technology that you might find on a Mercedes or a BMW or Audi that's comparable. They seem to be a little bit further ahead as far as safety features on their vehicles. But again, at minimum, it really keeps up, and it does have an overall 5-star crash test rating, which is huge. So all in all, that's what gets this a 9. It's a safe vehicle, and it's got a lot of nice features that, again, we wouldn't even have thought most of this was possible 10 years ago, and now we have these vehicles capable of letting us know there's people in our blind spots, that we're getting too close to a vehicle in front of us. So they're nice features to have, and that's why we'll give it a 9. Inside the vehicle, we're going to talk about visibility now. Overall, I'm going to give this an 8, and I'll tell you why. Looking out the front windshield, it's very sloped, so the sill height is fairly low, and you've got to try and get in a proper seating position to kind of get the view that you want. The windows are a little small looking out the side. If you're trying to look out the rear, as you can see, if you don't have the headrest down in the third row, it can be a little difficult to see out the back. And then if you go to turn your head, which you always should when you go to change lanes or take a turn, and check over your shoulder, the B pillar kind of blocks your view a little bit, so it can be a little difficult to take a look over and check. You've almost got to arch your head back and look out the rear view passenger side window there, or driver side window, to get a look at what's back there. So for that reason, I'm going to give this an 8. As I said, the visibility could be a little bit better, especially on a vehicle this big. Moving on to seating comfort, let's talk about all 3 rows, starting, of course, with the front row. This driver's seat is one of the most comfortable driver's seats I have ever been in. It's apportioned really well. It's bolstered really well. 30-way power seats, and the controls are all on the door panel, which is very luxurious. You see that in a lot of high-end cars, especially all the competition in this class. So the seats are also massaging seats, which are fantastic, by the way. Really great massaging seats. You can adjust all the seat controls, not just on the door, but also from the touchscreen, which is very easy to use and user-friendly. We'll talk about that. And then you have adjustable height seat belts as well, so they can go up and down depending on where you want it to come across your chest. So let's talk about the second row. Back in the second row, you have the same level of spaciousness and the same style of seating, but I will say the second row is not nearly as comfortable as the first row, and I can't quite figure out why. Usually in cases like this, the front row seats are packed with so much air conditioning, heating, and massaging that they're less comfortable than the seats without all of that extra stuff. The second row is a lot more stiff. The leather has the same feel to it, but you don't sink into it the same way that you sink into the front row seats on this car. The room is great. The adjustability on the seats is also nice, but there's something about it that isn't nearly as comfortable. So for those of you wondering as well, I'm about 6 feet tall, maybe a little bit over on a good day, and there is plenty of room back here. I'm sitting a little slouched down. I've got room above my head. If I want to sit bolt upright, I still have a little bit of headroom. My hair will touch, but usually you're in a more relaxed and comfortable seating position back here. Now, since we're back here, let's talk about some of the features as well. You've got cup holders down here that pop out, very nice. You've got your power hookups in here, USB, USB-C. You've got your 12 volt, and then you've got a regular conventional power plug. Looking at the controls back here, you've got heated seats. You can do your air conditioning controls back here. You can do the volume and media controls back here, and you can set the clock as well, so you can just see that if you'd like to. So you have some control over what's going on in the rest of the vehicle, which is nice. And the controls are very easy to use. They're very intuitive. It doesn't get any easier than this. Very nice touch to the feel of these knobs as well. They've got a great feel. They're very mechanical. There's a slight click to them, which is really nice. And the numbers and the illumination of the actual dials themselves are fantastic. Very nice colors, really cool pattern textured number format. I'm a big fan. Let's check out the third row. Now I'm in the third row. What you don't want to see is the footage of me getting back here, because it was a bit of a production for somebody my size. Now for short road trips, it'll be fine. Half an hour or less, no problem. But I wouldn't want to spend more than 30 to 45 minutes back here, and I certainly wouldn't want to be back here if I was in a nice suit or perhaps a tuxedo to go along with my Black Label Navigator and a fancy party. Now, what's interesting to me is not the fact that there is some constraints back here. Of course there are constraints. It's a third row. I do have some leg room, especially courtesy of the captain's chairs. I can at least get one of my legs out. I've got some headroom here as well. I'm a little slouched down, sitting bolt upright. Again, I still have some headroom, and of course the seats back here actually do recline, so I can give myself a little bit more space. What's interesting to me though is the third row seats are more comfortable than the second row seats. And I haven't quite figured out how Lincoln has done this or why, but you sink into these seats much more so than the second row seats. And I think that's very interesting. Again, not sure why that's the case, but again, if you had to do a short trip back here, it can be managed. I would not want to go on a long road trip back here, but the space is nice. Cup holders, you've got USB ports, you've got power back here, and again, power seats. You've got your lights, and then of course your seatbelt for the middle row. So 3 people back here would be a bit much in my opinion. It could be done, but all in all, the space back here is pretty impressive for a third row. And if I can fit back here, I think almost anybody could fit back here. 2 cup holders, not sure why you need those, but plenty of space back here for kids, friends, anything that you might need to put back here. My rating for the seating is an 8 on this for some of the reasons that I've discussed. The first row, incredible. Absolutely wonderful place to be. The second row, not quite as comfortable, and it's a little bit difficult to kind of maneuver the seats around themselves and maneuver around. The third row, again, very comfortable, but I took it down just because of the lack of consistency. If the front row is that good, it should carry backwards to the second at least. I understand if the third row is not on the same level, but the main 4 seats of this vehicle will be the most heavily used, and they should all be on that same kind of level, and they just aren't. And that's why this gets an 8 for me. Talking about the technology on this vehicle, it's really nice. It's user friendly, very easy to use. You've got your 10-inch touchscreen right here. It's fairly responsive. The navigation maps are updated. This comes with the Sync 3, which is not the latest edition of Ford's sync program, but it gets the job done. This is what I was talking about earlier, where you can control the seats from here. You can control your massage settings from there. You've got all your settings here. You can put it in a valet mode. It's got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, your 911 Assist. This also can be used as a mobile hotspot and Wi-Fi, which is great. Your sound setting, clock settings, everything is all right here. It's very easy to use. You can also change the ambient lighting from here, do a bunch of different colors. Red is great. I love red. You can do whatever color you want. Now there's also, if you go to the display here, Lincoln wanted this car to be as serene as possible, a beautiful place to be, very comfortable place to be. And this particular model is what's called the Saeli package, Saeli theme, because of the colors. And you can go in and you can change your background color. You can make it a calm screen, which kind of gets rid of this and just puts your clock up for you. When you go into the background, you can kind of pick whatever vibe you're looking for. You've got your night, you've got different options here for whatever you think is very nice and aesthetic. Like I said, this is a very easy thing to use. I've currently got the massage seats going on and it's just fantastic. I absolutely love it right now. It's not very laggy. Everything works very comfortably. You do have a heads-up display as well. You probably can't see that from here, but a heads-up display is always great. And then you have a 12-inch digital LCD cluster here, which is very user-friendly as well. It's very easy to use. It shows you your fuel, what gear you're in, distance to empty, everything like that. Trip computer, your engine temperature. It's very, very nice and easy to use. They've done a really nice job with this vehicle striking a balance between touchscreen and digital, but still having mechanical features. You have buttons, you have knobs, you have buttons on the steering wheel that you can press and touch and feel if you don't want to work with the touchscreen, which is great. I think they've done a really nice job of not overloading it. For example, Porsche, some of the recent Porsche vehicles have tons and tons of buttons and it gets very confusing. They've split it up here very nicely. It's very easy to use. And then of course here you have your drive select modes, your park, reverse, neutral, drive, which is very easy to use. It's just a simple depression of the button and then it electronically does what it needs to do to get you in park, reverse, neutral, or drive. You can control some of your seat settings here, your temperature settings. I will say the speakers are great. The clarity is tremendous. Not as loud as I thought it would be though, and I'm not gonna lie about that. Bang & Olufsen speakers I think can be a little bit louder and still maintain that clarity on the high end, but really crisp, really clean sound. And like I said, that is kind of the defining song for me for how good an audio system is. So all of that taken into consideration, I give the technology on this a 10. It's very nicely done, very user-friendly, and very modern compared to some of the other vehicles on the road today. Moving to the features, there are quite a few options on this vehicle. Over here you have all your seat controls. You've got your memory seats, which is great. You've got your heated settings. You can do your massage seat settings from here as well. You can move it forward, backward, recline it, everything that you need. And then of course down here you just have your standard window controls and door, like mirror controls. Very easy to use. All your light settings down here, just on the spin dial. You can set it to auto. You can set it to have your lights permanently on. That's totally up to you. Now moving to the steering wheel. Again, we kind of briefly touched on the heads-up display and then your 12-inch LCD screen here. It's very easy to use. It's very easy to look at. It's a soft, dark color with the black and the white contrast. There's never going to be any issues trying to figure out how quickly you're going. The steering wheel controls are also very nicely laid out. You've got your voice control with the sync. You've got a heads-up display. You've got your navigation settings, hill descent controls, trailer sway controls because this has the heavy-duty towing package, volume control on the steering wheel, all your basic features. It does have paddle shifters, which is a nice touch if you're in the mood to do that. Now this is interesting too, is you do have your trailer backup control here as well, which is something you don't usually see on a vehicle like this. It's something that you would see more so on a pickup truck. You've got your controls here as well for tow. So that's kind of nice because the towing capacity on this Lincoln is actually approaching almost what you could get on a F-150 or a comparable pickup truck. So you can do some towing on this if you want to. Coming down more into the center screen here, again, you've got your heated seats, air conditioned seats, everything's laid out nicely. Your storage is not bad. You've got a Bluetooth charging compartment here, 2 cup holders, and then your drive mode select button. You have a wireless charger in this compartment with your USB hookups. your cup holders, and then over here you have your drive select modes. You can turn your automatic start and stop off, and you've got your park sensor controls, your parking brake. Moving back to the center console here, when you actually open it up, it's kind of a strange design. This is a removable tray. It's very, very deep, but I'm not quite sure what you would put in here. You would probably use the glove box for more things, and the only thing that I think is a little strange is that this moves in unison. So you have two armrests here, one for the driver, one for the passenger. If either one needs to get in, the other person needs to move their arm so that the entire unit can come up. I'm not a huge fan of that. At this point, they probably should have just made these separate. They also don't slide back and forth, which is something that I think a lot of vehicles do these days, where because if I want to have my arm up here, I have no support up here now. It's just kind of flailing. I have to drive back here, which is kind of a strange position to be driving in, but again, not the end of the world. Looking at the panoramic sunroof, it's pretty big. It covers the first and second rows. Opens up very easily with the touch of a button, and to let all that fresh air and sunlight in. It's very easy to operate. Like I said, just a one-touch system, and like that, it's closed. You can pull the sunscreen back even further in the back here. It's all operated from this area here, right by the driver and passenger map lights, and it's very easy to use. All in all, it adds a very nice airy element to the car. It's nice to have these panoramic sunroofs. Looking at the features, I would give this a 9 overall, mostly because it doesn't have anything that really stands out above and beyond what the rest of the competitors in the class are doing, but at a minimum, it has everything that all the other competitors have, and it does it just a little bit better. There's a nicer feel to it. There's a nicer fit and finish. The features are easier to use and more user-friendly. So that's why I'm going to give it a 9. It doesn't blow me away, but it at least stays on par with everything in the class. Let's talk about design. Just look at this. Look at the lines on this, the lines on the hood, the chrome, the headlights, the way that everything is fluid and sweeping. It's so beautiful to look at. It is so far above and beyond the old Lincoln Navigator from an aesthetic look. It just looks beautiful coming down the road. It looks beautiful stationary. You've got the big, not quite honeycomb, but almost a diamond-shaped grille, the big Lincoln emblem, the chrome. There's so much fluidity to this car. There's nothing square and boxy about it. The design is so fluid. And you can even see it down in the wheels, and we'll swing you around so you can see that. It almost looks like an airplane propeller that's in motion. It just looks like the car wants to be propelled forward. It's very nice. And with this special edition package with the black accents, it offsets the colors of the car. It's a little difficult to see because this is a darker blue, but if you get this in the white or the burgundy, the black accents really offset this design and just make it look that much sharper. And it is so sleek to look at. Moving to the side, you can see the fluidity of this design continue. The Navigator logo here, it kind of tailors off in almost a teardrop airfoil shape, and everything flows to the back of this vehicle. It's very sleek. Even the mirrors, they're not square and boxy. Everything, you've got multiple angles on this, multiple different slipstreams for the air to flow over this car. And then you have the concealed running boards on this, which is great. So when you open up the door, those drop down, and then they go right back up again when you shut the door and get in, start it, and drive away. It's just so well put together. It is very sleek, very easy to look at. There's not an ugly angle on this car. There's no sharp angles. The design, to me, kind of harkens back to 50s Lincolns that were very smooth, very elegant looking vehicles, and that's what they have done with this Navigator. Moving to the rear view of the vehicle, the smooth lines continue. You can see it. There's really no sharp angles. If you stand over here and you look down it, even the rear tailgate curves, the rear bumper curves, the glass, it all curves. It's very smooth. You've got this seamlessly integrated taillight that runs the entire length of the vehicle. And back here, they've done a really nice job concealing what I believe is a Class 3 hitch, again, for that 8,700 pound towing capacity. So you don't have to stare at it. You can pop the cover on and off. It's just Everything fits very well together. The lines are great. It's very smooth. I can't find anything about the design that I'm not a fan of on this car, and for that reason, I'm giving it a 9. Absolutely love it. It's killer, very smooth. I would drive one of these. Love it. Let's talk more about the quality now. So the MSRP on this vehicle is $106,000. So for that kind of money, you better get your bang for your buck. And I really feel that you do on this. The paint finish is very nice. All the trim finish is very nice. Typical with a lot of cars these days, especially American cars, you do get some of the trim that is some of the harder plastic, but it's done very nicely in a black piano finish or the chrome. If you were looking at this as a used vehicle, you want to make sure you look very closely at this chrome because it's not real chrome, it's wrapped plastic chrome. So if you buy one of these used, make sure that it isn't bubbling or lifting. But all in all, the fit and finish of the vehicle is nice. The panel gaps are relatively small and very evenly spaced. So if you measure this one and then you go to the other side and you measure the other one, they're very consistent. So overall quality on the exterior of this is great. The paint color is great. This vehicle shines in the sun. It's an absolutely gorgeous color, this flight blue. Going to the back here, something that I think is really unique is the fact that, again, you can open the glass by itself, you can open the tailgate with the glass, and then if you go to the back here by the rear view camera, a nice feature that you don't see on a lot of vehicles is there's a little washer here that when you wash your headlights, comes out and it sprays the rear view camera, cleans that off. That's a really nice feature to have. So all in all, fit, finish, exterior of this vehicle is nice. Everything feels nice. It looks nice. I don't have any issues with the way that the exterior quality of this is and the exterior build quality. So let's check out the inside. Coming to the interior, let's talk about the fit and finish. First of all, this is in a class of its own, in my opinion. It has competitors, a Cadillac Escalade, a full-size Range Rover, a Lexus, an Infiniti QX80 are technically all competitors, but this vehicle stands above and beyond all of those, including the ones that are more expensive than it. The fit and finish in here is incredible. The leather is incredibly plush. It's very soft to the touch. Even the plastic and the trim, soft to the touch. The stitching patterns are consistent and accurate. They're level. They look great. It's a very, very comfortable place to be, and it looks good. If you were to ask yourself, is this worth the MSRP? Absolutely. This is one of the most comfortable places I have ever been in a vehicle, and you would have no problem driving this for 10 hours, 20 hours, 100 hours. In fact, you could take this, drive to California, realize that you forgot your swim trunks, and be very happy to have to drive all the way back to New York to get them, because that means you got to spend that much more time inside the Navigator. It's absolutely fantastic fit and finish. I love it. For that reason, I give the quality on this a 10. It absolutely blows me away. Since we're back here, let's talk about the cargo space next. With the third row up, you have roughly 19 cubic feet of cargo space. With the third row down, it goes up to about 57. With both rows down, it goes up to 103, which is right in line with its class competitors. So let's talk about value. So when you look at a car like this and you look at the price tag, it starts at $98,000 with the special edition package, that it's another $6,700, and on your delivery fees, you're up to $106,115. If you would have told me 10 years ago that Lincoln Navigators were going to be a $106,000 vehicle, I would have laughed. That being said, I think it's worth every penny. Speaking of convenience features and cargo space, when you come back here to the third row, you have the automated controls to put the rows down, your left side, your right side, and then up and down. So let's start with the third row, and it goes down all by itself just by the touch of a button, and it moves pretty quickly too. Now before you do this, make sure your headrests are in the down position, otherwise you're going to have a little bit of a contact issue. There goes the third one on the right side, down, and then we'll go to the left and right captain's chairs in the second row. Pretty quick on this one. Make sure the armrests are in, and look at the amount of space in here. I could sleep in the back of this vehicle, and I'm 6 feet tall. So plenty of room if you need to make a Lowe's run, you need to throw some sporting equipment in here, anything that you need, I'm pretty confident you're going to be able to fit in the back of this vehicle. The competition in this class are your full-size Range Rovers, your Lexuses, Mercedes, BMWs. You have a huge span of luxury SUVs, and they're all a lot more expensive than this because everything on those vehicles is an optional extra. They charge you for this, they charge you for that. It's a wonder they don't charge you to have an engine in the car sometimes with some of those competitors. This vehicle comes standard with everything that you see here today other than the special edition package, which is mostly cosmetic. So it doesn't have anything to do with the features. So when you look at some of these cars that are 120, 130, 150,000, a Range Rover Autobiography can get you up to almost $200,000 in some cases if you option it correctly. And this is a better place to be. It's half the price, and it's just a more comfortable, a little bit bigger, friendlier vehicle to work with. And that's why I'm giving this a 9.5 on the value. Totaling up all 10 categories, we come up with an overall score of 89.5 for this Lincoln Navigator. Now, we've reviewed the competitors and we put a list of their competitors down below with links to all of those videos. Now, we didn't cover everything that we would like to on this review because if we did, we would have been here for hours. But we wanted to cover the important things so that you have the knowledge that you need when you go to the dealership, because knowledge is power. If you found some value in this video, make sure you click the like button and subscribe. And if you have any questions or comments, make sure you leave them down below and Lauren or I will answer them. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.